we're in the new Israeli government's first day of actual work today, and with us to speak more about it is journalist and JNS Jerusalem Bureau Chief, Alex Traiman. Good to have you with us, Alex.
Thank you so much.
So, after all celebrations, today is actually the first governing day for a brand new government. What's on the agenda?
Well, the government definitely wants to first get to know their various ministries, of course. They have to get and settle in and start hiring their staffs. But I think fast on the legislative agenda will be the issues of trying to regulate settlements and remove the civil administration from inside the defense ministry, which will allow communities in Judea and Samaria to operate as communities do in other parts of Israel, and also to start advancing issues of judicial reform.
A little more detailed, what tops on Netanyahu's to-do schedule? What will he hope to accomplish in his first 100 days?
I think that they're going to press hard towards expanding the Abraham Accords, towards, in particular, trying to forge peace with Saudi Arabia. I think they will also push very hard on the Iranian nuclear issue to make sure that the United States won't enter into some sort of a new nuclear deal during that time. And then also you'll see the issues regarding national security and the police force and have some expanded rules of engagement for police and moving the policy for the police from the police itself into the Ministry of National Security, which will be run by Itamar Ben-Gvir.
And I'd like to go back to Saudi Arabia. There's a speculation about Netanyahu's interest in moving forward relations with them, with Saudi Arabia. Does he have a partner to talk to? Do you see it happening anytime soon?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, Netanyahu had traveled to Saudi Arabia several times clandestinely, and there's no question that the Saudis were implicit in their agreement for the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain to sign the Abraham Accords agreement, and you saw that when the Saudis allowed Israeli commercial airliners to fly over their airspace. So I think that there's been a lot of talks about normalization with Saudi Arabia, and the question will be whether the United States will be willing to play along and to give Saudi Arabia some of the incentives that they might be looking for in order to close an agreement.
Are there already some new comments coming from the Saudis about the new government, or are they still silent right now?
I think for now, you're not seeing too much overt excitement, but the Saudis and most of the other nations in the region are definitely pleased that Netanyahu is now the prime minister. I mean, he was the one who authored and developed the Abraham Accords, which were signed. Also, interesting here is that former U.S. and Israeli ambassador to the United States, Ron Dermer, now takes over in the position of Minister of Strategic Affairs, and one of the strategic affairs that he's going to be working on in particular are going to be expanding the Abraham Accords, and particularly peace with Saudi Arabia.
And really the new Minister of Strategic Affairs, Ron Dermer, is an American-born and not an elected Likud MK. What role do you expect him to play in the new government besides what you just mentioned now?
Well, he'll be a member of the Security Cabinet. One of the things that was interesting is that in the transition meeting between outgoing caretaker Prime Minister Yair Lapid and incoming Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was that Dermer was actually present inside that meeting. And I think that Dermer in this ministry is going to be handling what the Prime Minister continues to be the most important, considers to be the most important strategic issues. And I think in that respect, he will actually be serving in a sort of deputy prime ministerial capacity from within the Ministry of Strategic Affairs.
And Alex, we're domestically facing new price rises here in Israel. This is something of high importance to all of us, to all Israelis. Now, with all of the special interest in the new government, won't it be tough to rein in inflation?
This is definitely one of the major challenges that Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich is going to have to deal with. I know he's been studying the issue. They've been speaking about trying to install a negative income tax, which would give more money into the paychecks of the poor citizens in Israel. They're looking at trying to curb electricity prices and hikes that were expected there. But this is probably, to Israelis, the most important issue, potentially even more than security at this point, because like, as you mentioned, that the inflation and the cost of living is skyrocketing. So yeah, they're going to have to get to work and figure out ways in which to make living in Israel more affordable and to buy houses, making that more affordable as well.
I think that that's definitely one of the most important things to Israelis. So Alex Traiman, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.